All right, everyone, welcome back into another props video. Gonna be touching on the top prop bets today on Taco Tuesday. It's profit day. Let's go in and get into it. But first, just a quick recap from yesterday. So yesterday ended up being a pretty solid day, going 4 for 6. Really no complaints there. Weirdly enough, PrizePicks had this as a hit for a majority of the day. I woke up this morning seeing that it was missed. Strange there with the calculation, but the biggest one was Mitchell Robinson. Definitely worried about that one with him not getting minutes because, kind of thought Isaiah Hartenstein could get more run in that game. That is what happened. So I'm kind of proud that I was able to break that down correctly there for you guys. But yeah, 4 for 6. I don't think anyone's really going to complain about that hit rate. If we do that again today, we're going to be sitting very good on Taco Tuesday. So with that, let's go ahead and get into the Taco Tuesday picks for the day. And so I do want to call it the 9 to 5 slip optimizer here for you guys. You could go to pick 6 right away and just see the top 6 prop bets that we currently have on the day today. So we got Terrence Mann for under his fantasy score. We got Ellie De La Cruz for his under his fantasy score again today. Got Zubac for under his fantasy score. Jose Ramirez for over hits, runs, RBIs. We got total bases, one that I don't exactly love. And then you got Patrick Beverly for over his points. Let's go ahead and kind of break down those ones. We'll start out with NBA today. And so yes, the first one is going to be Terrence Mann for under his fantasy score. That's the number one that's popping up. And we're going to see based off of the data, it is one that's likely going to be a close call, but obviously the data likes the under here. We look at what he did last game though, against Dallas. We are going to see that he did play 39 minutes in that game and really had a very good game there. So we got to figure out, was that like an outlier? Was he just playing well? And I would say it is kind of clearly an outlier for him, but this is one that I'm still going to bet. But this is kind of like the Mitchell Robinson one where, if it doesn't hit, I think we can look back and then kind of figure out why, because he ended up getting a lot more minutes last game than he has typically gotten. If that occurs again, that would be a little bit of a worry. So from there, let's go ahead and get into the next prop bet, which is going to be Zubac for under his fantasy score. Another player that had some really good production. And I would say for him, it wasn't as shocking because with Kawhi Leonard off the court, he has been someone that has been able to produce. And then you look at the matchup going against Dallas. Bigs against Dallas has been something DFS-wise that I have been targeting a decent amount, especially against Daniel Gafford as well. So that to me is appealing. But if we're going to get Zubac in 30-plus minutes, to me, these are two prop bets that I personally don't really like. And if I'm betting on these guys, I'm going to be betting on these two together, okay? Because I do think that these would correlate together pretty well. Okay, Zubac and Mann both would take a hit, however, if Kawhi Leonard is out, who is currently questionable. So that is the big piece of news that we are waiting on. That is going to drastically change those lines. If Kawhi Leonard is out, that would hurt the two prop bets that we were on for the unders in Mann and Zubac. If he's active, that's going to drastically increase the likelihood of those hitting. So again, if I'm using those two, I'm going to use those two together. I'm going to pair them together, which, as you guys know, I like to tell you guys to bet the tacos 5 times individually, for each taco. This is kind of the exception to the rule. I want to pair those two together. Now, yes, it's not going to be as good of a payout as we would like. I typically tell people not to do 3 slip bets on PrizePicks because the payout is not as good as what it is on Underdog. This is the exception to the rule. Okay, this is where I'm fine with doing that. But again, very much predicated on whether or not Kawhi Leonard plays and whether or not he's going to be limited. Now, from there, we are going to see Patrick Beverly points is another one that's popping up, but we are getting a bunch of other EV bets, mostly in the turnover department. We got Alexander Walker for over points as well. Those are both 2 decent ones. I really don't mind either of them. I will say it's worth calling out. Like, this is the playoffs. Like, it's not shocking that Patrick Beverly got as much run as he did, 37 minutes in that game. Now, he only had 5 points in that game, but did shoot the basketball 5 times, which it's tough to say whether or not we really want to trust Patrick Beverly for points. I would actually argue he'd be better for like points, rebounds, and assists, or rebounds and assists, because he was very efficient. Now, Damian Lillard was extremely hot in the first half. You didn't really have to have Patrick Beverly with some wide open kickouts. That did not occur, which probably could occur a little bit more in this game. Obviously, the Pacers are going to make some adjustments. And so if Patrick Beverly were to get 36-plus minutes again, he is going to be someone that produces. And for the most part, if he does get that run, you kind of expect him to be able to get over 6.5 points. Now, Walker, on the other hand, played a very good game last game. You don't expect him to kind of continue that hot stretch. That's just a little bit out of the norm. If you want to go with Lillard for over rebounds and assists, I don't mind that. You would kind of imagine that the Pacers are going to triple and double team Lillard again. And so with that, you would expect him to kick it out a little bit more. I would argue that Lillard getting rebounds and assists over would correlate decently well with Patrick Bev getting his over points. You know, those are two prop bets I wouldn't mind pairing together as well. And so we do have some decent ones. We have Gafford for under his fantasy score. That's another decent one. With Gafford, it's certainly another interesting one. I would say this is correlated pretty well with PJ Washington getting his over fantasy score, because their 2 minutes don't exactly correlate that well together. Gafford is someone that's very much hit or miss. He's either going to crush this over or vastly get his under, as you guys can tell by this game log. That is just how it's been. Where PJ Washington is a little bit more consistent. But I will say, if Gafford's getting his under, that does increase the likelihood of PJ Washington getting his over fantasy score. So we have some weird NBA prop bets. I mean, obviously it's a 3-game slate. We're not going to get elite prop bets. We're going to have to kind of figure it out, get into those nuances a little bit more. Now, I will say I don't mind Chris Middleton today if we're expecting someone like Damian Lillard to get as much attention to detail as the Pacers gave him in the second half. Chris Middleton's going to have a very good game, most likely. He can randomly have bad games here and there, like any other player, but he is someone that I do think we want to be targeting a little bit. I kind of like him in the game stack. So if you want to use Chris Middleton for over PRA, I like that. You look at his per 36 production with Giannis off the court, it's about 3 higher than this. And if you look at it, guys, he is going to get around 35 minutes in this game. He might even get 36 minutes in this game if it's a little bit closer. And that's the thing where early on in the playoffs, I don't think the sportsbooks have adjusted enough for how much more minutes players like Milton and such are going to get. We're just going to see that more and more. So really don't mind Milton as well. With that, let's go ahead and get into the MLB props. And so MLB wise, I do want to start out with some pitching fantasy score prop bets that we are getting. I want to call some prop line differences here. Specifically this one, like Logan Webb, I like betting the under here just because if you compare his fantasy score line on Underdog compared to his PrizePicks line, we can see that's off by 2. Now, it does seem to be that the Underdog line is the outlier, but chances are he's going to get this under. So I really don't mind that one to include on the PrizePicks Flex Friday slip. But then we also have James Paxton, where we can see, again, in comparison to Underdog, this line does seem to be a little bit off. So I do really like this as an under. Anytime we can get a pitching prop that's over 54% edge, I want to be targeting that. But let's just go ahead and sort this by edge to give you guys the best prop bets that we are currently getting as well. And so we're going to see De La Cruz again is popping up in there. We do have Jose Ramirez for over his hits, runs, RBIs, a decent one there. We got Diaz popping up in there, Corbin Carroll, a lot of decent ones here. And so again, I would rather just roll with like a pitching prop. So if we can include this one in there, I'm fine with that. Under hits allowed, I'm perfectly fine with that. We got another one, Eric for under 5 strikeouts. Another decent one there. So seemingly a lot of decent prop bets today. So let's go ahead and get into bet slip for Taco Tuesday. Again, guys, I want to be pairing these up together, these two, okay? But also, that's a little bit different from what I normally tell you guys to do on Taco Tuesday, which is to pair each prop bet up individually with the tacos. But again, I think that these two correlate. We are kind of betting on Kawhi Leonard to be active if these two are going to hit. So that's a little bit of a concern there. We got De La Cruz for under his fantasy score. We did bet that yesterday, so maybe a little bit of a concern for him to have a slightly better day. Then we're taking the good EV bet there, and then we're going to take these two as well. Now, I will say Logan Webb, only a 53% edge. James Paxton does feel like a very good prop bet. Now, I do want to give you guys 2 other bets as well, just in case that these two are not available. Maybe Kawhi Leonard is going to be ruled out. Thus, these two are not as appealing. And then that's where I would roll with these two just to use instead of the other Clippers props. Now, I do want to call out that we will be getting more fantasy score prop bets for NBA. That's kind of been a sweet spot thus far early on in the NBA playoffs, hitting at a higher rate than expected, about like 60% rather than the about 54% that their edge rating is giving them. So I do think that there is a slight edge there right now. We'll see if that holds up in round 2, round 3, the championship and whatnot. But for now, it does seem like we have a decent edge there for the playoffs in round 1. But that's going to be all for today's video, guys. Thanks for watching. Make sure to give a like and subscribe to the channel. Hit that notification bell as well. If you guys want access to the tools that you saw in this video, head on over to 9to5sports.com. They're available for just $10 a month. Thanks for watching. Good luck today. And as always, let's keep cashing.